Hey there, Z Nation fans! We are here to talk about another episode of Z Nation. Tonight, we're covering Season 3, Episode 2, A New Mission. We've got a lot of new characters to discuss, and we have a special guest. Stay tuned.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AFTERBUZZ TV. And now, let the buzz begin!
Hey there, everybody! We are hitting the ground running now that we are back this week. How are you all doing tonight?
Well, the debate's happening right now, so I'm conflicted.
Yeah.
A little bit of real life, and a little bit of real apocalypse in with the zombie
I'm
apocalypse.
very excited to talk about this episode, but I'm also a little bit sad that I'm missing
Yeah,
the
'cause
debate.
yeah, we want to thank everybody who is hopefully DVRing the debate right now,
Yes.
so that you guys can tune in to us live. So thank you guys.
We are
so,
the
so
more
much.
important one.
We've got a few people live. We've got at least 4 people live in chat.
Oh, yay!
Hello, everyone.
Like I said, I hope you all are DVRing.
9 watching now.
Yay!
It says.
Thank you all
Yes.
for joining us. Before we get the ball rolling, let me go ahead and introduce my fantastic panel, Katie Cullen,
Hi, all my buddies. You can find me on Twitter at Kiaxet. That is Kiaxet.
Michelle Cullen,
Hello, everyone. You can find me on Twitter at Michelle Cullen.
and I'm your host, Megan Salinas. You guys can tweet at me at the Menguin. That's TheMenguin. We are also keeping an eye on the hashtag ABTVZNation, and Katie's keeping an eye on the live chat as best we can. Yeah.
I got it.
So,
You got it.
And yeah, we also have a special calling guest calling in later. Craig Engler, the co-creator and writer and producer for the show, basically jack of all trades, will be calling in a little later to chat about this episode and about what it's been like working on Season 3 so far. So let's get right to it, folks. This episode, picking up right where we left off from the end of Season 2, how do you guys feel? Because we had, again, our personal biases aside, we did have kind of a break in between, given that we had the 2-hour movie before we got this. Now, how do we feel about that sort of disconnect? Because a lot of people, when Season 3 started, who maybe missed that introductory thing, were like, wait, why is this in the past? We need to know what happened to 10K. What's going on, guys? So how do you feel coming back?
I thought that I liked it. I thought that this episode was great. I enjoyed the hell out of this episode. And I feel like now that we've seen this episode, now that we've seen what they introduced, now that we've seen what they're talking about, I feel like having the movie where it was good placement for it, that we needed that introduction. So the man and his 8.5 by 11 list, which has to be 8.5 by 11, even if there's only one name and 12-point Times New Roman on it. I had a really good laugh about this the other night.
Straightforward printing process.
Oh my God, you could just write it on a 3x5 and be done.
It's not as effective at being intimidating if it's written out versus typed.
I just thought it was absolutely hysterical that he unfolds this piece of paper and there's one little teeny name right in the middle of it. And I'm like, I'm sorry, did a college student do that for you, trying to be impressive with the font size and word limit?
I had forgotten that Murphy's first name was Alvin, and I was like,
Alvin Bernard Murphy. God bless America.
I loved that it was in the center of the page because that means you had to take the effort to press enter a bunch of times to get to that sweet spot.
That's why I thought it was so funny,
That's
because his
funny.
other list was, left adjusted and at the top, but this one is just like, brr,
And it was
it's
all
the
caps.
Murphy. He's
It was
important.
aggressive.
it was very aggressive, and yeah, somebody could have written it on a Post-it note,
Not as
and
effective.
it would have sufficed in terms of conveying information. But
Could you
making
imagine the man pulling out a pink Post-it with a pencil written?
Yes!
this is a man that also wears flip-flops to his mission. So,
I mean,
yeah, I could
It would
Casual.
still be scary if he did it. Because he's selling this character. Sure, it's menacing if he unfolds this big old whatever, but I'm still laughing about the fact that someone had to go to the effort to do that.
Does anybody ever wonder, like, knowing what we know about the man now, anybody wonder what he does in his downtime?
Does he have downtime?
He makes martinis and listens to classical music.
That's true.
Or 70s
We
music.
got to see that.
Well, I guess 70s is kind of classic at this point. It's like
Ooh.
70s rock. That's good.
So
Classic
yeah.
in the good way.
But I liked that we had the movie where it was. I like that they went back and they gave us more information a little on what Zona is, and they introduced the man. So that way, when we got back into, yeah, Zona is this, I don't want to do this, it's like, oh yeah, we got to see some of those, we got to see, the shaky hand with the glass, and we got to see that they'd kidnapped all of these people.
The rich so-and-sos, yeah.
So we kind of being able to see it from the other side, it's a good refresher, it's a good reminder, and it's a good, wow, I cannot word tonight. Can't blame Murphy for not wanting to go along with it. And also the man, and what the man does is fresh in our minds as well. So we just need that little scene of him showing up, looking at the parachute, looking at his list and going, yep, for us to go, oh dang.
Now, I agree with you, but I also could have seen the value of, like, and again, I love the movie that we got, but I also could see the value of bringing in the man as a complete stranger at the very end of this episode. I feel like that would have been almost as an effective stinger without context of who he was and getting context a little later. I think it would have been just as effective. That being said, I agree. I do think that having the movie made this episode a little bit more enjoyable, at least in terms of like a refresher of who Zona was and everything. Michelle, what are your thoughts?
I agree with both sides, which you might think is impossible.
You can't do this. This is a debate.
No, I see both. I see both sides. I see the benefit in getting that refresher right before it happens, but I also had that thought at the end of how powerful and impactful that one shot of the man could have been, just seeing him walking, into the distance and not knowing who he was or anything, but knowing inherently that he's not a good person.
Yeah, you only get one chance at a good first impression, and we got a very good first impression of him as well, but this would have been also very good and very menacing.
Yes.
I feel like it's the difference between who the heck was that guy and who.
That's a very accurate thing. Neither one was bad. They were both quite good and could have done very well separate or together, and they chose together, and it was awesome.
Yeah. And again, for anybody who missed the first episode of this season, who missed the 2-hour event, they do get that, and they have the benefit of being able to go back now to get that context. But anyway, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about bringing him in and bringing in the fact that Zona is now on the hunt for Murphy. So Murphy's made his escape from the underwater submarine, and he's got a few people in tow, one of which very happy to see 10K. I feel like
that was an amazing reveal.
Yeah,
that
just
was,
like head.
Like, that was genius writing of just having him being laid out flat in the boat. You couldn't see him at the end of season 2. You had no idea. You still had no idea when they landed. And then he was like, "Get up, kid." And he did.
Now,
and a woo was heard around the United States.
Oh, yeah.
Woo!
Now, how do you guys feel about the slow reveal about 10K now being enslaved to Murphy?
I knew it happened right away.
Yeah, I'm not at all surprised, but holy cow, I want to punch Murphy in the face.
Do you feel like because it was fairly obvious after a certain point, do you feel like they should have just shown it right at the beginning of the episode? Or do you feel like the reveal right there at the very end was more fitting?
There's always going to be someone who doesn't catch on right away, and the reveal is more for them. I'm not saying, like, it's for the dumb people, but some people are really good at foreshadowing, and some people are really good at math. So...
And... Shoot, now I forgot what I was saying.
Well, for
I
me,
got distracted by math because
it's contagious.
I hate math,
It's
and
contagious.
she said math, and then I got focused on that.
Go ahead.
Please go ahead. Say words.
For me, I kind of liked that at the very beginning. You don't really know. You have this strong suspicion that he did bite 10K because that's the tactical move for Murphy, because he cares about Warren and all these people in his own way, and he doesn't want to leave them to die, but at the same time he has to make a calculated risk. And biting 10K is the best way of ensuring that 10K is not going to turn around and shoot him in the head.
And 10K has a very particular set of skills.
Well, and
those
also
are
a
super
strong
useful.
dislike of Murphy.
Yeah.
So it made sense to me, but the moment where I knew for a fact that that's what he had done was when 10K had taken off in the woods and basically did a giant circle and ended up right back at Murphy's side and was just like, what just happened? I did not understand that.
So there's question as to whether or not he knows that he's being controlled, because without a mirror, you can't exactly see the back of your own neck.
Yep.
You know, it feels like a very would you kindly sort of
Oh my
thing,
God, yes.
Where you don't even know as you're playing the game, though, would you kindly go do this? Would you kindly go do that? Sorry for anybody who hasn't played BioShock yet.
It's been like 5, 8, how many years?
Basically,
many years.
Spoiler alert, basically in BioShock, you don't know it, but an ally, quote unquote, that you have in the game named Atlas is basically making requests of you. He's saying, would you kindly go get this? Would you kindly go get that? And you don't know it as the player, but would you kindly is actually a trigger phrase for mind control. Basically, would you kindly?
Brainwashing.
And so the person is conditioned to do whatever it is they're asked of them.
Interesting.
So I feel like it's a very would you kindly thing where it is a possibility that 10K doesn't quite know that he's being controlled yet, because he and Dr. Murch seem to have a much greater awareness of their situation than Cassandra ever did.
Which I find interesting.
Well, Cassandra was already half dead at the point that she got bitten from disease, and that was season 1 when Murphy was still trying to get his act together.
Shedding his skin.
Yeah.
I don't think that
She was the beta
the
test.
biting.
It might have been because Murphy was different.
Was he though?
Well, we've seen him
Physiologically.
physiologically change as the season has progressed. But go ahead.
Well, I was going to say I found my thoughts again after the horrible math comment. Just math. At first, when I saw him get up and touch his Band-Aid and he was walking like he was fine, I was like, he bit him by the gunshot wound and it's covered by a Band-Aid. And he doesn't know because he doesn't think to check, but he shouldn't be this fine because he was dying. And Murphy made the calculated move to not leave him on the submarine and to bring him and to utilize his skills because Murphy.
And Renji in the chat was also saying he thought it was hidden in the wound, and that's what I thought it was too, right up until we got the back of the neck reveal.
Yes, so it was still a surprise reveal for those of us who caught on quickly.
Yeah, it was still
location.
It was still a very good misdirect, and not to mention, it's just kind of a cool set of scars, like having this thing that controls you right at the base of your, right at your spine.
But
I cannot wait. Go ahead.
Oh, I also find it interesting that he's not experiencing discomfort from that wound because it's still a bite.
Yeah.
That broke the skin. You would feel that.
Maybe Murphy didn't bite him right on his wound because he's like, oh, that'll get infected. Ew, no.
Also, I'm not a fan of where he bites. Those are weird.
They are weird locations.
Weird locations to bite. Very bony.
Now,
very awkward.
Murphy, we also see that he kind of goes full supervillain in this episode. And I don't mean that in like a mustache twirly maniacal villain sort of way, or even as like a Walking Dead sort of villain where because of their circumstances they are now soulless husks who just like hurting people. Like, Murphy's not like that. We've been with him for several seasons now. We like him. He's a jerk, but we like him and we empathize with what he's going through. And yeah, you can't really blame him for saying, screw you, humanity. I don't know. What do you guys think of him, like, going, like, I will recreate this world in my image?
I can't blame him for not wanting to go with Zona. I can't blame him for being tired of being kicked around. He didn't ask for this, but he's always just kind of been a dick. So, are we really surprised that after season 2 and all these people telling him you're special, you're special, you're special, that he finally went, I'm special? Are we really surprised?
I feel like he's always felt like he was special.
Yeah, but that much affirmation and no longer having someone to rein him in for the course of the mission. Like, as opposed to being, I could be the savior of humanity. I could be this. Okay, I have someone riding me to get there, but I'm the savior. And then it turns into, no, really, you're not. There's no more mission. Well, screw it then. I'm going to rule the world.
He did compare himself to Zombie Jesus at one point.
Yeah.
That was to try to save Garnet's life.
That's true.
That was a decoy. You all know it. How dare you?
You're right. I'm sorry. I crossed a line there. I apologize.
I think, in a weird way, he's being very pragmatic about the whole thing. Like, he has seen what humans can do. He has seen what human beings can become. And he has seen what zombies are put through. And he feels that the best way to solve that is more beings like Lucy. just procreating and splitting the difference and seeing what happens, because it can't be worse in his mind than what is happening now.
Yeah, because
Speaking of which, real quick, can we get a moderator in the chat to break up the fight that's going on? Because come on, guys. But can we talk about the mindless humans and the zombie tumbleweed? And can we talk about the
Yes.
new aspects that were brought into this?
talking about things that are maybe shaping Murphy's worldview, yeah, we have two things that we're being introduced to in this episode. And that's zombies eating zombies out of starvation, which I don't think we've ever seen before.
But it will
in, like,
eventually get rid of the
anything.
zombie problem.
And then on the converse side, humans who have become feral and wild out of starvation, who they're not zombies. They're basically taking humanity back to the Stone Age.
That's actually was the first big hint that I knew 10K was bit, besides questioning it when he got out of the boat. But he shot human beings without question.
Well,
And without remorse, like
he
no
shot
second thought.
human beings without question, and as Murphy put it, he stopped counting the zombies that
Yeah,
he shot.
he did.
Which the second he wasn't counting, I'm like, is he silently counting? I would hope he's silently keeping
And
track.
a half. We've all got your back.
That being said, I hope someone's keeping track while 10K is under this control. So I believe we have a caller on the line. Is that Mr. Craig Engler?
Hey, yeah, this is Craig Engler from Z Nation. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Hello. How are you doing? It's been a while.
I'm doing good. It's been a while since I've been on the show. I'm excited to be back on. Thank you for having me.
Wasn't it like episode 2 of season 1?
It was way back, episode 2. Season 1 was the last time we had Craig on.
Oh wow, is that long? Okay. Well, I won't. If we get a season 4, we'll come back on sooner than that.
Oh, I hope so.
Perfect.
Please do. You are welcome anytime. So for those of you who don't know, Craig is the co-creator of the show, writer, producer, jack of all trades. Basically is a huge force behind this show. Craig, how does it feel now that you guys are in season 3? The show has progressed a lot since the last time we had you on.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's we have a design for the show, and it's been going sort of where we've envisioned it. And I think the thing that keeps us really excited and motivated is that people haven't guessed where we're going. And I think that they really enjoy the show because we do things that I think when they think we're going to turn right, we turn left, or we shoot off into space, or we burrow down into the ground, and we do kind of zombie. And, we have a lot of fun. There's a whole bunch of us in the writer's room. We all craft the show together under the leadership of our showrunner, Carl Schaefer. And I think we all sit there and just try to outdo ourselves, every season, and also have really true arcs to the characters. All the characters have developed in ways that hopefully you didn't expect, but that seemed very natural now that they got there. And I think that, for me anyway, that feels very true. Warren has become the leader of the gang. Murphy has finally gotten fed up. It's Addie has sort of blossomed into a person under her own right without Mac around. Rip Mac. So I think, you see all the, Doc is becoming more and more badass. I mean, one of the interesting things about Z Nation, everybody somewhere has to be a badass to have survived. But you didn't really see that with Doc early on because there were so many people around. But now that, they're losing more people and the stakes are getting higher, you're really seeing why he is one of the survivors. So, that's, I think, what really excites us and keeps us going with the show is how the characters are evolving and the storyline is changing.
Yeah, and characters reaching their limit, too, and having to push beyond their limits and becoming, new people as a result. Was it always a plan to sort of make Murphy, we were just talking about how he kind of went full supervillain in this episode. Was that the plan from the get-go?
I don't remember if it was a plan from day one, but it was sort of the plan from early on. Carl had a very interesting vision of how Murphy would develop, and I think that from very early on, it was the plan to work towards and to really introduce the blend as kind of a third type of creature in this world. So you have humans, you have zombies, and then you have half human, half zombie. And you'll see that play out a little more now that Murphy is fighting more and more people and getting them on his side. And that was always, built in from the very outset when Carl came on board the show.
Well, it's been interesting to see the difference between the blends because Cassandra was kind of our first one and she was essentially feral. And then at this point, we also have 10K, who is incredibly cogent but doesn't seem to know that he's been bitten and is being controlled. Why did the blends develop this way? What can we look forward to, if you can say that?
Well, there's actually a bunch of blends at this point because Murphy is surrounded by people he's been bitten. So while the main characters that you know of were Cassandra and 10K, there's definitely a lot of characters around him that are blends. And, I think Cassandra was a bit of a special case because she had a lot of damage, during the nuclear, stuff going on at the end of that episode. So I think the blends are a little bit different than I think you see Cassandra. I think she was a little far gone when she was bitten, whereas 10K was a little less far gone, if I can say that. And you will definitely see a lot more information and a lot more people turn into blends in this season.
Interesting.
I don't know if I can give that away. I don't know. I can't really go too much beyond that, but I can say you're going to see more of the blend.
Well, it feels
Murphy
like
wants
it's a
to really
natural
have his own
progression.
army.
Well, DC Douglas has happily informed Twitter that he's back this season, so we'll be seeing Ma and Pa Kettle and their blends as well.
Oh, I can't wait.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I can't wait.
That's
gonna be
actually
so much fun.
one of the episodes I wrote. So, yeah, you'll see them. They did
Nice.
a great job. You're going to see a very interesting storyline develop on. That's, I believe, that's the 11th episode of the season, so you'll see them a little bit further down the road than where we are. We just aired episode 3.
Yay.
All right.
We'll see Lucy again. That's wonderful. So we've also been introduced to a lot of kind of world building aspects in this episode. We have the Ender sort of people who have gone feral. We have the zombies eating zombies, and we have the people in the Forbidden City who are also working on their own cure for the zombie vaccine. What aspect of the apocalypse in season 3 were you most looking forward to being revealed to the audience?
I really like the idea of the Forbidden City people coming on set, on board all of a sudden, because you all of a sudden you realize, oh yeah, there are people outside of the world, and Z Nation it's not just happening in the U.S., it's happening globally, and so many movies, shows, books, games never really, not World War Z, but so many other ones, never really explore that, and I had always had in the mind from the very beginning when I was coming up with the original kernel of the idea for the show that we would actually see that at some point. It would be sort of a season-ending thing where all of a sudden it was like fighter jets go overhead, and you're like, what? And they're not ours, and suddenly there's a whole other contingent, because that's exactly what would happen if those people were out there. If they were out there and they can listen into Citizen Z and they hear that there's a guy with a cure and they have resources. They've got an aircraft carrier, they've got soldiers, they have different methodologies for fighting the zombies. You would send them all over. But then, of course, in true Z Nation fashion, nothing ever goes the way anyone intends, and suddenly May is left more or less on her own with our team here at the beginning of season 3.
Yeah. You mentioned some brainstorming sessions about zombies a little earlier, and one of the really cool things about this episode was this little tool that you use to take out multiple zombies at once. Who came up with Who came up with the projectile idea?
The laser grenade. Yeah.
Yeah. To be honest, I don't remember. There's so many ideas. When you're in the writer's room, you're in the room, 8 to 10 hours a day with 5, 7, 8 other people. You're constantly throwing ideas. You're building on them. It's very hard to remember some of the specifics of ideas, or even, there's sometimes where I see something and I'm like, I think I came up with that idea. But no, wait, I think maybe Dan did, or Jen did, or maybe I'm misremembering that, maybe I just thought it was really cool when they said it, and now I think, it just happens. There's so many ideas thrown out there. And a lot of times what happens is the person who threw out the idea, their idea is built on risk off of and becomes something else. So, the kernel of it was their idea, but then it becomes a sort of group idea. So to be honest, I don't remember who came up with that. I know it wasn't me. I can't take credit for that. But I know it wasn't me, but I don't remember who came up with it.
Well, it was pretty fancy.
It was certainly interesting.
So
Yeah, I know. We have lasers. That's what I tweeted out. I'm like, we have lasers. The Walking Dead doesn't have lasers. We have lasers.
You have a laser grenade that shoots like foot-long nails. Like, dang.
Yeah.
yeah, again, very dangerous.
Laser-guided nails. Laser-guided nails. We don't have to.
Laser-guided nails.
Now,
Nailed it.
boo,
Hey.
boo. Speaking again about brainstorming, this is probably I can't think of really any other sort of zombie material where we see zombies attacking each other. Now, where do you kind of see that progressing? Because again, we've got so many different factions, and with zombies turning on each other, that's a very interesting element. It's a very interesting kind of way that, again, you guys, something Z Nation does really well is taking zombie lore and tweaking it just ever so slightly into new and different ways.
You know, I'm pretty sure that idea came out of, we had a discussion about, I don't know if you've heard of this phenomenon, it's called a rat king, where if a bunch of rats live in the same place and they can't move around a lot, like all their tails become interconnected and they can't get free, and so they move around in sort of like a big clump. Maybe even like Stephen King did that in one of the Night Shift stories. I can't remember, but we were talking about like, and I'm pretty sure this one was Carl, where he was talking about a rat king of zombies, and could we do these interconnected zombies that were sort of there's so few people around that the zombies start eating each other out of sort of not desperation, because zombies don't get desperate, but just there's nothing else to eat, so they end up eating each other. And wouldn't it be horrible if they turned into this giant mass? And of course, you instantly think, how are we going to do that on TV? On a TV budget, we can never do it. And then you see it on screen, and it's better than you ever possibly imagined. That's more of a little like a world-building tidbit about the world around us, and the fact that it's a real impact on Murphy's character, because he's seeing zombies turn on zombies, and he's part zombie. So he kind of sees like, hey, the world is not working. What we're doing isn't working, so we have to do something else. And that's one of the sort of touchstones that kicks him off this season, to basically being like, I'm gonna do it. No one else is doing it. Your plans are stupid and keep failing. And by the way, I keep bearing the brunt of all the awful things that go on. So it's time for me to sort of take control. So that's more of an aspect of the zombie stuff.
I do like that our last couple of seasons have started with something rolling away. We had a cheese wheel, and now we have a zombie tumbleweed. I love it.
Yeah. I cannot tell you how many tweets people send me about wanting to see the cheese wheel. And I don't remember. So there was an episode I wrote that actually isn't going to be used this season. We might try to save it for next season due to budgetary reasons. But there was an homage to the cheese wheel, but I don't remember if it got repurposed into another episode or not. So I don't remember off the top of my head if you will or won't see some aspect of the cheese wheel. I have to go back and see if it made it into another script.
So we'll have to talk to you at the end of the season then and see if it made it.
I will just die if in the season or series finale, if like whatever big bad we have set up just gets knocked flat by this cheese wheel that's still rolling across the
and
country.
has picked up zombies down the way. And Alistair points out in chat, the first season we had the Liberty Bell rolling away.
Yeah.
You guys are very fond of your rolling projectiles.
I love it so much.
Yeah, we like to roll big things onto zombies because it's fun.
It is.
So, if you could, regardless of whether or not it fits into the story and regardless of budget, create any kind of zombie for the show, what would you do? We're going full pie in the sky here.
Interesting that you say that, because we're going to be doing a Z Nation comic, and one of the great things about doing a comic is that you don't have the budgetary limitations. You can say, oh, I'm going to draw, a giant 50-story spaceship, and it would be in there. So there's certain types of zombies that are very hard to do with special effects makeup, and we're going to be able to do them in the comic. But I kind of don't want to give it away, because it's hopefully going to be, for the people who buy the comic, going to be a surprise when they see it. But there's a certain type of zombie that I've always wanted to do en masse, like not just one, but have like thousands of them that we're going to be able to do in the comic book.
Had you announced the comic before? I didn't think I'd heard of that.
Yeah, we were able to announce it right around San Diego Comic-Con.
Okay.
It won't be out until next year. We're doing it with Dynamite Entertainment. I'm going to be co-writing it with Fred Van Lente, who's a very well-known comic writer and a good friend of mine. He actually wrote the Cowboys vs. Alien comic that the movie was based on. He's written tons of other things as well. He and I are co-writing it. The Asylum and SyFy and Carl and everybody are fully involved in it. We're developing a storyline, and then the idea is that we might be able to take some of the stuff we put in the comic and then use it down the road in the show.
I'm super excited. Oh my God.
That's so cool.
None of us were able to go to
Yeah, and I will
Comic-Con
say
this year.
the comic is set in Black Summer, so it's actually set back before we ever met Murphy. So it tells a little bit of a different tale in Z Nation, and it really broadens the world of Z Nation. And you'll meet a whole bunch of new characters, and you'll see some familiar faces.
Okay.
That's so cool.
So a little bit of world building. I like it. I appreciate it. You can't see us, Craig, but our face is lit up when you see the comic book. So
Yep.
we're very excited about that.
I'll tweet a screenshot later. That was magical.
Oh my God,
So,
yes.
Speaking
I'm
of
trying to figure out if there's a way, you know how like we live tweet the show every Friday, and I'm trying to figure out if there's a way to like live tweet reading the comic when it comes out in some way. So I've sort of been talking to the comic book company. I said, have you ever live tweeted the premiere of the comic? And we're going to try to figure something out. I don't know if it'll work.
Oh, yeah.
But it'll be fun.
You definitely can. People do it all the time. Just got issue #1 of Z Nation. Gonna read it. They post like screen caps of different panels that they like. Whole 9 yards. You can definitely live tweet reading a comic. Things
All right.
I have
I'm
done
gonna try that
before.
when it comes out.
Well, since you guys are doing a comic, you guys have done a lot of different things, kind of moving with this series, and even at the very start of this season, doing a 2-hour movie as the sort of season premiere. And now with this comic book, what other ways are you what other mediums are you looking to tell the Z Nation story?
I'm not sure that there's anything specifically planned at this point. I think we wanted to see how the 2-hour movie did. That started out as a request of the network, and one of the things they wanted it for is so they could run around the schedule as a movie, sort of a standalone movie that introduced you to Z Nation, and then also that the way that we crafted it is, even though you sort of go back in time to season 2 and you get to see Cassandra again, rest in peace. We introduce a character that then you'll see again in season 3, which is The Man, of course, which you saw at the end of the last episode.
Yeah.
So it was a way to kind of like have this really interesting storyline and kind of insert a character that you'll see more of, but that you didn't get to see in season 2. Personally, I've always advocated to do a Z Nation Christmas movie. Nobody ever wants to do that. I think that would be the greatest thing on the planet. Totally, standalone, out of time episode of our characters, trying to celebrate the holidays and everything going horribly, horribly wrong.
Mary Zemas.
There are ideas for ways to spin off. Maybe we do a mini series at some point or something like that. But right now, I think that the two biggest things planned were the 2-hour season opener, which is kind of a prequel to the real season opener, and the comic, I think, are the next big thing.
You are just lighting up our life tonight.
I think we all kind of want a Z Nation Christmas movie.
I had a flashback.
Murphy is
Doesn't
Jewish
it seem
and
like
hates
a great
everyone.
idea? Like, I'm
It's
just like, this seems
genius.
to me like a no-brainer. But
Yeah.
It's like the Chewbacca Christmas special, but with zombies and magic.
And less terrible.
And less terrible.
Murphy
Yeah.
is Jewish and mad that nobody will acknowledge
There's-
it.
That would be
Like-
a twist.
I have a Christmas mix on my iPod, and one of the songs on it is "Christmas Night of the Living Dead." So that
awesome.
that would be wonderful. This would be a dream come true.
I would love it if they still
Yes.
celebrated the holidays and the apocalypse.
Just the little things to try to maintain a semblance of how the world used to be.
Citizen Z broadcasting Christmas carols.
Aww.
We can write this for you. I mean,
Well, and one of the things is like, they would try to celebrate Christmas, right? I mean, they might not remember like 4th of July since there's not really a United States anymore, but you would try to celebrate, Christmas. Probably not Halloween. That would probably end in disaster.
You're
for
kind
everybody.
of living Halloween
but,
every day.
I feel like it's something they would do
yeah.
Yeah. So
and do horribly. Horrible would go wrong. So
Yes.
It's just the natural.
Oh gosh, it would be like the gift of the Magi, only with weapons.
Yeah.
It would be fantastic. But
we did sort of a Birth of Christ episode when
We
Lucy
did.
was born. You had the three wise men, the zombie camel. I mean, who doesn't want a zombie camel? That camel was great.
That
You could have
camel
him back in
was
a
great.
heartbeat. He loved it. He had a great time on set.
Oh,
so
man.
we are running a little short on time. We still have the
sorry,
rest.
guys.
Oh no, you're great. You're great. I'm just telling my fellow panelists that we are running a little short on time. Are there any other questions you guys want to ask Craig before we wrap up and finish recapping the episode?
I asked my big one. I'm super happy.
Yeah, no, I'm in a good place with all of the things coming up.
The yeah, like I said, Craig, you are lighting up our life. The thing I want to mention right now, again, we talked a little bit about Christmas. Somebody who's kind of perpetually living in the winter is Citizen Z. And he's been put in a very interesting place this season because all of his equipment was pretty much out of commission last season, but now he's been stripped of all his resources. And I was kind of wondering, where were you guys kind of looking to place his character at the beginning of this season now that everything except his dog has been taken away from him?
Well, Citizen Z's got a honey now.
He does.
He's living with the Eskimos, so he's the biggest fan. So I think we have again, I don't want to spoil anything, but we have a whole new type of story for Citizen Z to experience. And he now has, I don't know if she's officially a girlfriend, but I guess they slept naked together in the last episode. So I guess they're that sort of is close in the apocalypse. Then she knows his real name. So, he's got a very interesting story arc that is much, much different than you've seen in the past. And again, is a direct, sort of a natural outgrowth of what's been happening to him. Everything's got wrecked. He went off on his own, possibly froze to death, and then got rescued by this mysterious girl who saved him. And now, he's got a honey.
Yeah. And it'll be interesting to see the type of person he becomes, having his eyes and ears kind of taken away from him, because his big thing was that he could access anything throughout the world, and now he's virtually blind. Although he does have a very lovely view of the Aurora Borealis.
He does.
Well, one of the things about Citizen Z that's very interesting to me is, in before this season, he had everything you would ever want, which is he was safe from the zombies. He had, an unlimited food supply, he had power and electricity, but he was totally alone. And now it's kind of like that switch, right? He's had to give all that stuff up for companionship. And I think that, that's a really interesting dynamic for him. And we'll see that play out is that, now he's among people, and, he also hasn't been around people for a long time, and he's not, he's not the most social guy on the planet in terms of, being stuck up in the Arctic forever. So now he's got to sort of reassimilate into society. And I don't know if you had seen the whole episode or not, but, he was in with this girl, and then her parents were right there, and
Yep.
was immobile to the point of, or you're not sure if she's actually frozen or not. So, I think he's going to have a very interesting time.
Well, thank you again so much for taking the time to call in. We know it's a lot later over there than it is over here, so thank you so much for taking the time to do that. Is there anything else that you're working on right now that you can tell our viewers about? I know that it's really tough if stuff is still in development, but is there anything you'd like to let our viewers know that you're working on?
Well, I'll tell you something really cool. There's an anthology that a friend of mine, a zombie author named Jonathan Mayberry, is doing. It's called Nights of the Living Dead. And it's basically stories set on the same night of Night of the Living Dead, officially set in the George Romero universe. And the anthology is being edited by George Romero and by Jonathan Mayberry. And I was very fortunate enough to be able to write a story for this anthology. And as a zombie fan who literally thinks Night of the Living Dead is the greatest zombie movie ever made, to get to contribute this tiny piece of mythology to the official George Romero universe is just super exciting. It's an anthology that will be out in 2017, and it's called Nights of the Living Dead. And there's a whole bunch of great zombie authors, and then somehow they let me write a story in it. So
Congratulations.
super excited
That's
about
awesome.
that. Thanks.
That's amazing. It's canon. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So thank you. Congratulations again, and thank you so much. Where can people go if they want to find you and keep up with you and all of the projects that you're working on?
Primarily on Twitter. I'm at Craig Engler on Twitter, and I talk about Z Nation and all the other stuff that I'm working on. So if if you're listening, please come by. And also, I just want to do a shout out to thank our fans. We had not only did we have really strong ratings for the premiere episode, but we actually grew a little bit in the ratings from episode 1 to episode 2 this season, which is very rare in TV. Almost across the board, shows will drop from their first episode to the second episode just because, people tuned in, checked it out, we, found something else to watch the next week. So the fact that we actually grew a little bit from episode 1 to episode 2 in our third season is amazing, and I just want to thank all the people listening who watched and support the show, because it was totally you guys who made that happen. So we're gobsmacked that happened.
Well, congratulations again, because, again, you guys deserve it. It is fantastic, and you guys put on a fantastic show, so thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Right.
Of course.
Have a wonderful night. Thanks again.
You too. We'll talk again next season.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
All right. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you.
We need to talk to him more often.
We
because
do.
he is the bringer of good news.
You brought so much joy. My cheeks hurt.
I feel like it's Christmas right now. The idea of a Z Nation Christmas movie and the comic book and his Night of the Living Dead anthology. That's so good.
I want the Christmas movie to
I want a
happen.
Christmas movie so badly
So
right
bad.
now. Oh my gosh.
And the Murphy's heart grew
my
3
gosh.
sizes that day, and then immediately shrank, turning into a black hole.
Oh, from which no light could escape.
That's beautiful.
There's like
I-
3 people out there who are going to get that reference.
I would watch that TV program.
We already are. I would watch that specific episode of that TV program.
So let's get back to this real quick. But before we move on, I should have saved it for the middle of the show. But we had a lot to talk about. I want to talk to you guys really quickly about iTunes, folks. Thank you so much for everybody who's gone to rate, leave a comment on the iTunes store. We love hearing from you, first of all. And second of all, it's the best way to let our producers know that you like the show that we're putting on. And we love sitting here getting to talk about Z Nation. And you guys' continued viewership and support allows us to do that. And if you guys leave a comment, we will give it a shout out on the show, like from Mighty Orphan, who writes, "This is the one, 5 stars. I think I enjoy this podcast as much as I enjoy the show. Z Nation is exactly what I look for from television, and this podcast fits the same bill." So thank you so much. And we also had a comment on Twitter from last week, just talking about how excited that they got a shout out. Kylia, I think I'm pronouncing that correct. Kylia at Kylia Loves Cat.
I think she was one of our iTunes reviewers.
Yeah, she was one of our iTunes reviewers and was just ecstatic that we gave her a shout out on the show. So I'm giving her a Twitter shout out right now.
What?
Because you rock, Kylia. You are the best.
You are
Guess what? We
super.
adore you.
So thank you guys so much. Again, to everybody in the live chat, everybody on the hashtag, everybody who comments on iTunes, you guys are the best. So let's get back to it. So not only do we have the man coming back, Murphy going full supervillain,
10K bitten.
10K bitten, Citizen Z up in the Arctic with his new lady friend Kaya. But
New people.
we also have, and we mentioned this when we had Craig on, we have Sun Mei and her military outfit, and they're the ones that inadvertently give Murphy his military tech here at the end of this episode.
Whoopsie.
Womp womp.
Yep, good job.
But she's a very interesting character because, again, we get a different worldview from her. You know, everybody's after the same objective of wanting to find a cure for the zombie virus and put the world back in its proper place, but they have a different way of going about doing it. And yeah, part of that plan involves getting the Murphy. Now, what did you guys think of this initial confrontation? Because it went places I wasn't expecting. Like when this military unit came out and, you know, captured all of our heroes, it was kind of interesting. I was kind of expecting them to be a little bit more of a force to be reckoned with, but by the end of the episode, Sun Mei is the only one that's left.
I love that we established competence for the military force because we're so used to them doing the whole, okay, we're going to get out of our stuff, we're going to stand up, we're going to beat them up, and we're going to get our weapons back and run. And for the first time, it doesn't work at all.
That was a fantastic scene.
Yeah, because these people have training and they know what they're doing. Like, Warren is the only one who has any modicum of success.
And it's just that war decency of like, well, I thought that was going to go different. I will, hands behind my back. All right.
Apologize.
All right. Good times.
And
This
we
is
try.
awkward.
And I concede.
But it's a really good way to establish, not in a big swaggering, I'm going to beat you up sort of way, but in a, no, it's all of the details and we have them all figured out sort of way that, yeah, these people know what they're doing and they're competent. And then they all stop and stare at the freaking laser grenade. I'm so mad at that thing.
only one person thought to dive out of the way. Yeah.
You would think that a piece of technology that advanced that can map faces to the point of having like the 3D polygons to be able to figure out, oh, there's a face there, would have something in it that could scan for a heartbeat and maybe not shoot people.
Or have
Because wow, it was only a matter of time until someone threw one of those suckers back.
Or have like certain faces, say, hey, maybe don't shoot the person with this face. Like if Facebook can recognize my face in a picture, you'd think that military tech could also recognize certain military personnel.
Yeah.
But I guess you can't necessarily account for the fact if those military personnel become zombies. I guess there's a thing there. So yeah.
Well,
the
and
pulse would've
Facebook
been-
also thinks I'm Patrick Dees, so
That's interesting.
it has mistagged a few pictures. So that's a thing.
I'm just saying. But yeah, I kind of I agree with you. They're competent when it comes to dealing with other people, but that sort of military precision kind of goes out the window a little bit when we see actual zombies come out, because the first thing I thought when they opened fire on the horde of zombies that's heading their way is I'm like, that's wasting a lot of ammunition.
Yeah.
So again, very precise when it comes to dealing with actual humans, but when it comes to zombies, I'm guessing that being behind the walls, you can't really prepare for a fight with zombies until you've actually gotten into fights with zombies.
And I'm thinking of, I've read a little bit of World War Z at one point, and they were interviewing someone from the military, and he was talking about how they were unprepared because the military does teach you to go for the larger targets. You go for the chest, you go for the heart. That's where you can do the most damage, and they're easier to hit. Headshots are more difficult. And so going up against zombies, they just went with their training, which are get them in the chest. There's a lot of things there where if you hit them right, they'll kill a man. But they're already dead, and headshots are the only thing that'll work. And so it's a matter of retraining and kind of reprogramming how you react to things, and that takes a lot of time.
Yeah. Having read World War Z as well, warfare
Did I get that right?
More or less, but also
Yay.
warfare against zombies is completely different than warfare against people, because people, can feel shock and awe, and zombies do not.
Theory.
In theory.
In
this
theory.
is true.
Yeah.
How about you, Michelle? What did you think of this new military outlet?
I don't really have a comment on it.
They're just there.
They're
They're
there.
just there.
They're just there. And to be fair, they are just there. They are one of many military outfits that have just wanted to use Murphy as a means to an end.
They were just there to introduce a new character from a different place because they all died.
Yep, they did all die.
I will say I'm sad that they went down that quickly, just because it was right after the comment about, boy, it's sure nice to have someone else up front for once. And you've doomed them all.
And there they go.
Yeah, and all right.
They were nice while they lasted.
Did anyone think to pick up their guns? No? Okay.
But again, it's nice because especially where we are right now with the group, having the artist formerly known as El Scorpion on the team.
Hector.
Hector.
I
Good
like
old
having
Hector.
him so freaking much. And they gave him a knife gun. I'm so happy.
That was a mini modern bayonet.
It's a tiny gun
Gun.
blade. I love it.
But with him and Sun, we have, again, these two very different worldviews that have now been incorporated into the group. El Scorpion has very much had a very hard life getting...
Sorry, I shouldn't laugh, but like just
She's reading
The rap
off-
sheet.
yeah, and it's just going and going
Just
and going.
kept going.
Opportunities were limited in my neighborhood. Like, God bless.
But, you know, it brings the question, because they've only just now incorporated him into the group as well, so it's going to be very interesting to see whether these two newcomers are going to cause a little bit of animosity, if they're going to get along with each other, if they're going to get along with the rest of the group, if the group's going to side more with El Scorpion because he's more battle experienced.
His name is Hector.
His name is Hector.
El Scorpion
You're right.
died in the
He's
pit of
dead.
zombies.
He's dead. It's
How
Hector.
could you?
You're right.
I just feel like Hector's kind of a little...
He just seems very happy to be
He's really
included.
happy to be there.
He's just like a very large, dangerous puppy dog where he kind of loves you all, but if anyone looks at you sideways, he'll rip their throats out.
Well,
I like it.
I think it's that he, first of all, he's drawn to this group because I feel like he's drawn to certain types of people. Who prove themselves very strong personalities, but he's also free. He hasn't been free in a long time, I
That's
assume.
very true.
So I think he's just really happy that he's found this new life opportunity and that he's just kind of running with it. He's like, okay, let's see where this goes. I'm on the good guy's side now. This is fun.
I love it. I love it so much, and I can definitely buy it. I'm just like, yes, I'm down. I'm in. I'm in.
Yep.
Add him to the list of my favorite people.
And
There's a list. I can't choose just one. There's a list.
And the only other thing I really want to touch on before we wrap up is that moment where we do have this kind of confrontation between Murphy and Warren. You know, and this is why I say he went full supervillain in this episode, because he's like, join me, and together we will change the world, and we will rule it in my image. Like, I was half expecting him to say, and we will rule the world side by side with you as my queen.
Or something like that,
That's not
yeah.
really what he meant. I kind of
But
liked,
she called him out for it.
she did. And I kind of liked that he offered that, and it ties back to what we were talking about earlier with he cares about this group, but he cares about himself a lot more and his sense of self-preservation a lot more.
I feel like caring about the group is Warren, most of the rest of y'all, 10K. Like, there's a priority order there.
I feel like he has not mastered the art of debating, and he handles that by biting people on the face or neck to get his way. And that is not good practice.
He never quite learned that lesson in
general
kindergarten.
shout out to anyone who might be debating tonight.
That it's important to listen. That it's important to listen and not bite people who disagree with you.
Do not bite the people that disagree with you.
That's what happens when you have all the best words and you run out of them.
It's
Anyway.
just generally frowned upon to bite other
Generally.
people in general.
You're welcome. It was so subtle you didn't even see it coming.
It took me a minute.
But yeah,
Watch the debate.
Topical humor.
and I like that this new mission is not only to still try to save the world, but the new mission is to stop Murphy, which I think is a nice little tweak compared to
I do like it. Did they name it at the end? I don't remember.
I don't think they did. Did they?
They did say we have a new mission.
I hope they name it.
That would be great because it was Operation Bite Mark.
Operation that guy.
Operation Stop the Tall Smurf Guy? I don't know. No, there's somebody come up in the comments below. What should the new mission be titled for our
Yes.
heroes?
We
Please.
will announce our favorite next time
Yeah, there we go.
and use it.
Yes.
In the same way that we nicknamed all our Decepticons on the
and
other
we will
show.
continue to refer to the mission as that for the remainder of the season.
So, it needs to be snappy and not profane.
So
Air appropriate.
that just about wraps it up for our show tonight. Do you guys have any other comments before we wrap up for the evening?
I just really enjoyed this episode.
Yeah, it was good. I'm excited for next week.
Nice return to form.
Oh my god, yeah. This felt like the season 3 premiere. We had the movie, and this is the start of the season. And I love it. It was so much
It's
fun.
actually really smart
Yeah.
on SyFy's part.
Hitting the ground running. Again, what he was talking about earlier in terms of like gaining momentum is like, you have greater viewership because everybody who didn't get their answers last episode gets them this episode.
Yep.
It was a very, very smart move. All right. Do we want to do rapid fire predictions really quick?
Oh, yeah, sure.
All right, rapid fire predictions because we are over time.
AFTERBUZZ TV predictions.
Timberwolf in chat says that there is a picture released of 10K and Murphy having a fight.
Ooh, do you think... there's a thought. I would like to think that later on down the line, maybe this episode, maybe further on down the season, that 10K will fight to regain his independence in this particular... I don't know, because he looks like he's in really good shape. It's entirely possible that for people who aren't close to death, that maybe the effects of the bite are only temporary.
But if you've seen the promo pictures for like the full cast pictures, he has some awful dark circles under his eyes in those.
Oh, that's not good.
And keep in mind, the only long-term one we've seen is Cassandra, and she was an exception to whatever rules we could potentially have because she was 90% dead anyway and then kind of went feral. Our only example of long-term effects would have been Ma and Pa Kettle, and we haven't seen them in a while.
That's
So
true.
we don't know.
It'll be very interesting to see how that develops. Michelle?
I just kind of want to see if Dr. Kurian's head comes back in the game. That's what I want. He was left behind in that fight. He's in a box. Maybe it's a bulletproof box. Who knows? Not us yet.
We don't know. He could be anywhere.
Nobody gave us a heads up.
Boo.
Oh, come on. I stuck my neck out for that one.
Boo. What's in the box?
What's in the box?
So, okay, the only other thing I'm gonna say in terms of predictions is that I feel like the man is going to be closer onto Warren's trail than onto Murphy's, and will come across that group before he comes across Murphy's group.
I'm expecting like video game fights where you fight the boss a couple of small times throughout the campaign, and then at the end, it's the really awful one. So that's what I'm expecting for this.
I just imagine that low quality, like
Pixels?
what? Yeah, pixel, well, like turtle monster, whatever it is, where they're throwing shells at it and you jump around it.
Oh, yes.
That's gonna happen. That's my new prediction. That's not gonna happen.
Well,
Bowser?
folks,
Is that who they fight? I don't know. I don't play video games. I don't know your life.
Which video game are we talking about?
All of them.
Generically.
Generically, that room at the end.
The room where
folks,
it happens.
Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you to everybody on the hashtag and the live chat. It was a pleasure hearing from you. Michelle, where can people go if they want to keep up with you?
You can find me on Twitter at Michelle Cullen and on Thursdays right here at AfterBuzz TV talking about Criminal Minds Season 12. I'm so excited. Please tune in.
Katie.
I'm Katie Cullen. You can find me on Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram, and YouTube at Kiaxet. That is Kiaxet. I'm also on Snapchat at Kia Prime. Star Wars Rebels comes back tomorrow at 6 p.m. Arrow comes back next week on Wednesdays at 9 p.m., I think. Blind Spot is back on Thursdays at also 9 p.m. They all came back at once. I'm having a moment. Watch things. It's great.
I'm Megan. You guys can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at The Menguin. That's TheMenguin. I'm also on a bunch of shows here at AfterBuzz, and I write articles for The Movie Chick. That's Chick with 2 Ks. Be sure to check those out. Folks, thank you again so much. Thank you again to Craig Engler for calling in.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody. We will see you all next time.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.